everyone's national championship sleeper, LSU. Look, they went crazy in the portal, all right? They actually went crazy in the portal. We'll talk about it. They got one of the better quarterbacks in the country. They got a coach that's smells college football playoffs, right? Been seeking for that. And honestly, with the talent he's got on his team, like it is expected probably that he goes to the college football playoffs. The over under win total for LSU is 8.5 wins, juice to the over. Like with the talent on this team, if you're an LSU fan and they do not make the college football playoffs with this roster, I would be a little bit upset. You got a pretty challenging schedule though, but we'll see, man. LSU. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm looking at every position here, and there's players that I like at every position, which is a good sign. If you're LSU.
Yeah, it's an exciting group. Obviously, Nussmeier headlines that just with, not only his name, but what he did last year, putting up big time numbers. Heisman hopeful, first round draft pick. Obviously, in an SEC that, if you ask us, like we're not high on the quarterbacks in terms of like what it's been in the SEC. I think this is potentially another down year, at least of elite high end quarterback play. Nussmeier should be vaulting himself, or is already in, and should be proving himself to be long in that top group of the SEC quarterbacks, and obviously play a big role and hopefully pushing LSU to the national title in the playoffs and all that kind of good stuff. It doesn't feel like Brian Kelly's been there for a while, but this is year 4, right?
Yeah, this is his fourth season.
This is year 4 for Brian Kelly, and obviously you've had an SEC West title, you've had a Heisman Trophy winner, and still LSU fans are hungry for more, man, as they should be. It's been one of the better programs the last couple decades in all of college football. One of the only schools to have 3 different coaches win national titles is wild. Brian Kelly looking to become that 4th. That's an incredible stat, by the way. But yeah, it'll be fun.
All in the last 25 years.
Yeah, I mean, Saban won in what?
Oh,
04.
yeah, we should know that.
Oh, we should. we weren't even.
Well, I guess we didn't really watch that, but that's just like a thing that people know. I'm gonna say 03, and then I'll let you fact check that. But yeah, then like Les Miles, Big O, winning a national championship as well, 2019. But yeah, I mean the pressure's kind of on Brian Kelly right now. Did I get it right? 03.
Never a doubt.
Never a freaking doubt. Ball knowers, come on. So I guess we'll talk about the quarterback room a little bit because Michael Van Buren is a transfer from Mississippi State. If you didn't get a chance to watch him last year, dude, baller, gamer, tough, solid arm, super athletic. His completion percentage isn't necessarily like an unbelievable number, but like for what he was dealing with as a true freshman, right? True freshman. He beat out like a highly recruited, highly rated like true sophomore. That he beat him out. Once Blake Shapen went down, and he was so good. They were simultaneously one of the most explosive and inconsistent offenses, in the SEC, but also in college football. Part of that was Jeff Lebby being Jeff Lebby, dialing it up. And part of that was Michael Van Buren making plays. So if Nussmeier goes down, I think there are a lot of people that would jump off the bus. Yeah, maybe like your national title hopes, but like in terms of like, I'm not jumping off the LSU bus completely if Michael Van Buren is to go in there. I mean, are you?
Not necessarily. I mean,
it's a big hit, though.
It's a big hit. I think, yeah. And I think you would have to get overachievement, I think, from the rest of your position groups. Like you'd have to, like all those transfers that you feel like you hit on, you had to hit on. O-line has to, be even better than potentially was last year. Hopefully you figure out how to run the football, help them out. But yeah, in terms of as not only backup quarterbacks go, but like your future, like in 2026 when Nussmeier's in the NFL, like that's awesome to have that, especially with some of the attrition you've had hit to your quarterback room, right? With some guys transferring out. It feels a lot like not a lot like, it's kind of different, but like Oregon getting Dylan Gabriel and Dante Moore, right? Like just kind of having a succession plan there, a high floor backup and a talented backup as well. That's young and has experience. So heck yeah, good for LSU, and also good
Yeah.
for Van Buren too. For like, I think it's a great spot for him to be at too.
Uh
Like
huh.
a lot of self awareness there. Like good for him for doing that.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a stud. Skill positions, who you lost? You lost Josh Williams at the running back spot. Not a big deal. Caden Durham's a stud. Caleb Jackson, Harlem Berry. I mean, who's going to be a true freshman who I think could be really good for this football team. I mean, Caden Durham was so good. Holy, I mean, they didn't discover him until like what, week 4 or week 5, and yeah,
Still
that
didn't
was a
use him
mistake.
enough. Still didn't
Still
use
didn't
him
use him
enough.
enough. Yeah, he's he's so explosive. He's a smaller guy, so it'll be nice having Caleb Jackson in there. But yeah, he's stout though, man. He's explosive, man. Just a he's just a good running back, man. Caden Durham, man. I love watching you play, man. If you're listening to this, you are a fantastic football player. At the wide receiver spot, you lose C.J. Daniels. Of course, Kyron Lacey. Thoughts and prayers with his family. That unfortunate situation there, but to move on to the 2025 receiving group, having to replace that, production. Yeah, the talent is here, dude. I mean, Xavier Thomas, explosive player from last year's transfer portal class from Mississippi State. Chris Hilton's a guy that everyone's always, waiting on to explode, and he's like a fifth-year guy. You know, Nick Anderson from Oklahoma is one of the better receivers in the portal. Barry Brown, another explosive guy from Kentucky. Aaron Anderson, who was a transfer from Alabama, former five-star guy, who kind of casually had 800 yards last year and was really good at times. So kind of seeing him step into the shoes that was expected to be filled, at Alabama, that's kind of now being realized by him. And at tight end, your pass catchers, um, Mason Taylor, huge part of that offense. But you go and get Bauer Sharp in the portal from Oklahoma, who was really solid. Donovan Green, who had a really good freshman year, injury kind of put him in a tough spot. Rehab didn't go the way I think he wanted it to. Um, for whatever reason, didn't see the field last year at A&M, but has all the talent in the world. And trade as Green as well at the Titans. I mean, you have pass catchers galore. Like these skill positions are really nice in these transfer portal players. Even if they didn't bring in all these transfer portal players, at least at wide receiver, I'd still feel okay about their wide receiver room. But they just added to it. And then at the tight end room, I do feel a lot better having that depth. Now that Mason Taylor's gone.
For sure. Yeah, it sounds like Green and Sharp are kind of, going one and one there. Green's a guy that's just, you talk about all the talent in the world, man. He's not not many tight ends move like he does, man. 6'7", 240. Looks like he's playing basketball out there, a power forward for LSU. But yeah, it's a fun group, man. Nussmeyer is going to be able to take advantage of that. Absolutely. And that's why I think, him versus Van Buren, like Nuss will be a guy that's, first of all, not afraid to throw any football to anybody. He'll throw it where it needs to be or or where he thinks you can catch it. And it'll be fun. The wide receiver core, Nick Anderson to me is the guy I want to see back healthy and like continue to go on his path to like what we talked about at one point being like an all conference level player for Oklahoma. Because Aaron Anderson is a really, really good player, but not that he's gadgety, but at being 5'8", like you're going to need somebody else, right? Barry and Brown, Xavier Thomas, other guys that are just smaller bodies, right? And then Chris Hilton, I think whatever you get from him this year, I think is just going to be gravy. But it's Nick Anderson is the guy that they went out and got, right? A lot of people wanted him, and they went out and
Mm-hmm.
got him. Could be really fun with Nussmeyer.
Yeah, I mean, I I don't have lots of questions about the skill positions on the offensive side of the ball. The position group that I have questions about is the offensive line. It really is. You lose Will Campbell, Miles Frazier, Emory Jones. All right. That is a lot. All right. So how do you replace that? Well, what you get two basically two returning starters this year. No,
Chester.
no, you only
That's it.
yeah, just GJ Chester, and honestly, he was the worst one at center. Now, my presumption is that bringing in Braylon Moore from Virginia Tech, who's got a lot of experience, you're going to kick Chester to guard, which he's probably going to be better at. That'll benefit him. I think Josh Thompson, dude, that's a dude, man. He mauls. All right, transfer from Northwestern. Um, that's an NFL player. All right,
They have a
I don't
good history
know.
of producing NFL elite
Yeah,
talents.
yeah, he is a stud. All right, I think they'd probably like to play him at guard. He could end up playing tackle. I mean, he's that versatile kind of guy, kind of like a Peter Skronce. If you're, you know, looking at Northwestern versatile offensive lineman, I think he's a stud, dude. I mean, you watch him against Michigan with those guys that he was going against. Like, dude, he was a menace. Josh Thompson's good.
And
The question's
he'll be playing next to guys that are more talented and better than he's played next to. So
yeah,
hopefully that even makes him that much better too.
yeah. I'll. He's so good, man. Now your tackles. If Josh Thompson plays guard, he could play tackle. I don't know what that's looking like. I haven't seen the fall camp reports, but
So it sounds like Weston Davis will be the right tackle. So from left to
okay.
right, Tyree Adams, DJ Chester, Braylon Moore at center, Josh Thompson at right guard, Weston Davis at right tackle.
Got some inexperience there at the tackles.
Yeah.
That's tough. And
And
now here's
but
the thing: like I used to have, I compared Nussmeyer, under pressure, and Nussmeyer, with a clean pocket, and like it is night and day. I'm like, man, he's really a different player under pressure. And then I tried to like extrapolate that, and then I'm like, well, okay, how about the other quarterbacks in the SEC? Like, what are they like under pressure? And actually, if you go through the numbers, like Garrett Nussmeyer, among, granted, he wasn't under pressure all the time, with that great offensive line. He was the best quarterback in the SEC with a qualified number of stats or snaps. He was the best quarterback under pressure last year. If that surprises you, because we kind of think of Nussmeier as like making the errant throw, making the bad mistake. Like I think it's a bit of a mischaracterization of Garrett
yeah,
Nussmeier if we say that pressure causes Garrett Nussmeier to make mistakes. I think pressure causes any quarterback to make a mistake, and I think that those numbers just kind of highlight that. So of course, if he gets pressure on him, he's going to be worse than he would be if he had a clean pocket. But I think it's pretty shocking. He's a little bit better under pressure than you would think, but I still am very concerned about those tackle spots. Will Campbell. I mean, the dude, the guy, fourth overall pick. Emory Jones was really solid there for a number of years. So yeah, I think it's a legitimate concern. And Braylon Moore, I think he's pretty good. Um, is he what they had there before? I mean, yeah, he'll be better than DJ Chester, but DJ Chester's playing guard. Like I'm concerned about Adams, Chester, Davis. I do think that they have a little bit of depth in terms of like guys that they maybe like, beyond those starters if injuries start to pile up. But I think if you lose a guy like Josh Thompson, like that will hurt a lot. And then you're looking at an offensive line that okay, we got not only a lot of unproven guys, but now we got even more chemistry that we got to work out. I mean, I'm rambling a little bit about this, but it is a concern for me.
yeah. And you've seen some attrition too. That O line, not only to the NFL, but also like think about the portal too. We talked about it a little bit off air. Lance Hurd, like I know he wasn't great last year for Tennessee, but he'd be a really nice guy to have to plug in at left tackle or right tackle for you. And obviously, he wasn't great against some of the better teams that he saw, but just having a body like that to play, add to your depth and competition there. But it'll be interesting. I that's a very interesting point you brought up about with Nussmeier. I think it's interesting that the assessment of Nussmeier and some of the faults is maybe not necessarily what the numbers say, and that he kind of gets put into a spot that judged differently than other quarterbacks, which is cool to see. But yeah, man, this O line. Brian Kelly sounds pretty confident about it. But
He's got to be,
it's
right?
also August. Yeah, it's like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
great. Like I hear what you're saying. I see what you're doing.
Everyone's offensive line in fall camp looks great, right?
Yeah,
Um, but
yeah,
let's move on to the defense side of the football because aside from the offensive line, not a ton of questions on the offensive side of the ball. CD, I mean, the defense in 24 and 2023. I mean, improvement in 2024, not what they're looking for. But you look at some of the projections and some of the transfers that they brought in, dude. Like these are not no name guys that they're bringing in from Joe Schmo places. Like these are legitimate transfers that are ready to play at a high level in the SEC. I think.
yeah, and yeah, it sounds like they're hitting the ground running with their defense, and obviously coaching staff coming in there, um, doing a lot of good stuff. One of those guys that got in the portal, Bernard Gooden, man, he it sounds like he is really really taken off in the interior that defensive line there. Um, was a guy, from Wake Forest, obviously going to be next to Dominic McKinley. Dominic McKinley got another 5-star kid, in-state prospect. That was a huge, huge win for them recruiting wise. A couple guys in the portal, Jack Pyburn, Patrick Payton, Jamari Butler, right? Like guys that will give you stuff off the edge. Pat Payton, I think, was a guy that LSU fans were just over the moon for, back when he committed in the transfer portal cycle. I think he's had some, bumps in the road in what it's been. I think the expectations maybe a little bit too high for him right now in terms of what he gives you in September, which kind of stinks because it's a tough start to the schedule. It's a tough. We'll talk about that later on, but this D line is something that I think they're coming along, man. I think they are, and it's going to be huge in terms of becoming a national title contender, right? Like D line and O line. The O line we just talked about and potentially have some questions, but this D line I think it's kind of cooking out like they wanted it to, and it's looking like an LSU off defensive line should look like.
Yeah, when they first got Bernard Gooden, I was like, okay, that can't be it, right? You know, for like in terms of guys that they were going to bring in for the interior. Um, but that ended up being like kind of their premier guy that they got for the interior. I'm like, okay, like he's a little bit undersized, played in the American, but like he, like the American had some really good interior offensive linemen. You know, you think Vincent Murphy, you think Brady Small, you think Trent Holler, you think Brady Wilson. You know, like fantastic interior offensive linemen, not just for the American, but like in college football, in my opinion. So it's not like he was playing his nobodies. It could be definitely an adjustment for him. Sounds like he's doing pretty well in camp, like you were talking about. Dominic McKinley, he might be a stud. So I feel better about this defensive line than maybe I did last year. I think Braden Swinson is a solid pass rusher, right? But I think that there's a lot more pieces on this defensive line now that can offer you more, you know, from a versatility standpoint, than just being kind of like a third down guy. But linebacker, it's good.
It's the law firm, week
It's the
and
law
week,
firm.
weeks and weeks.
Weeks and weeks over there. I don't know what they're gonna do with Harold Perkins. I stopped guessing what else he was gonna do with Harold Perkins. You know,
He's playing
because like,
star for him,
yeah.
apparently.
So, which I guess is like a hybrid safety kind of role. You know, and it's like, okay, he's coming off an injury. He's a guy that people have talked about for years. He's entering his redshirt junior year. I think that that could be the it could be the correct utilization of him. He's an incredible athlete, great straight line speed guy, and I think Whit Weeks was awesome last year, right? So
Yeah.
he was incredible. So I think Weeks and Weeks over there and Keys, you know, like you're in a good spot, I think, at the linebacker position. So
There's also
um,
Zach Weeks too. There's a third Weeks, bro. There's the third one. He's a
I
reserve guy, true freshman, but
I know, just need one
it's a
more week
monopoly, bro.
and you'll have a month. The linebacker position, that was not even that good of a
Oh my
joke.
god, dude, that's how I was
It
laughing.
was
What the hell?
not even that good of a joke, but I'll take it. Anyways, so I feel fine about the linebacker position. Not a ton of questions except for Harold Perkins, like just being, what does he do right at that star spot? The DB room, I mean, this group just gets flamed constantly. And I actually, one of my best bets in 2023 was LSU to win the national championship. And one of the reasons was like, I thought the portal guys that they brought in there was like pretty good. Like Deuce Chestnut, it's like uh, Jordan Gilbert. I'm like, maybe there's like they got some guys. Maybe they do some stuff with it. Like the kid from Southeast Louisiana. Like I'm like, okay, here we go. And just they ended up not being Denver Harris. I'm like, okay, but they all just sucked. All right, this is different. All right, when I say like these are guys that are studs that they're bringing in this defensive back group. I mean, we are talking about all conference players for their respective conferences. Now, Deuce Chestnut was like third team All ACC when he came over, but different.
This is different.
You love Tamarcus Cooley. I know you do.
I wanted him to
Just
play wide receiver for my Gophers, man. That's what we recruited him as, which is crazy, but it just shows how good of an athlete he is that he could just switch to DB and he's going to be a safety for him, all conference for or like a legit all ACC kind of guy. I don't know if he was or not, but in terms of his talent and production, that's what he kind of was for NC State, and then Houston giving you AJ Halsey, Virginia Tech, Mansur Delane. Yeah,
yeah, AJ Halsey, all Big 12 guy, was one of, if not the best safety probably in the transfer portal. I mean, just everywhere, everywhere. Mansour Delaney. I mean, we've talked about him before. Like that duo that they had at Virginia Tech, those corners were really good, and to get him over here to Baton Rouge has got to be a huge win, especially at that cornerback spot because you lose Zaya Alexander, who actually was pretty decent for you, and you brought him over a couple years ago from the lower ranks, and he ended up turning into a pretty good player. Ashton Stamps, we'll say growing pains with him, but I think he could be a pretty good player. If he ends up making a jump, like, okay, now you're looking at Cooley, Halsey, Delaney, and Stamps. Like, that's pretty good. Then your other safety spots, like, what'll it be, right? I'm not in love with Jordan Gilbert. I think Toviano, I think if he took a big step, I think that'd be a great guy to play your other safety spot. I'm not sure how they're going to, fill in that last spot. Um, it'll be interesting to see. DJ Pickett is a guy that you hear about literally all the time in every single tweet, every single practice report. Like, oh my gosh, like is he going to be out there too? Like playing, like how does he fit into this system? So this is definitely a DB group to get excited about. I think so. I'm more so than the last 2 years. I'm liking this DB group, and I don't hate this defense at all.
yeah, I'm with you there. I pick it, man. Wouldn't that be fun? Just see a 6'4" dude playing cornerback for LSU. Just add to the list of absolute stars they've had in that secondary. PJ Woodland's another guy to bring up too, a guy that's gonna probably play a factor in the rotation. Deshaun Spears. Um, I think what we're kind of getting to is the infusion of talent that they brought in the portal of like proven power four guys that are the athletes to play in the SEC, and then pair that with young talent that has experience is a good recipe. I think is all you could really ask for LSU to do. If it doesn't work, I think that's that's just very surprising. I think is what it would come down to. The other thing too is like you're gonna hit the ground running with your schedule. Like week one, Clemson has a really, really good wide receiver room. You're gonna find out real quick. Like, can you get the quarterback? Can you cover elite receivers? And I think that'll be pretty telling on how you're gonna handle the rest of your schedule, if that does turn out to be the case.
And just to boot, like we didn't think that this team was like well rounded. I mean, special teams wise, you got a great kicker, bringing in a transfer portal punter. Not sure he's amazing, but from a returning perspective too, Xavier Thomas, like, and Barry and Brown and Aaron Anderson, like any one of those guys, throw them back there, and they will be immensely explosive. And you brought in a new special teams coordinator. Uh, sure, like your punting was pretty abysmal last year, but if you guys don't know who Aman Anand is, he worked at Grambling and Baylor and Penn State as like assistant special teams coordinators. Grambling, he was a special teams coordinator, and he did a pretty significant job. But there are coaching circles out there that believe he's a pretty solid special teams coordinator. That this is his biggest his first opportunity at this level to be a special teams coordinator, but he's got a lot of really good players to be working with. So I'm sure that it'll be all right. And those Baylor special teams, those Baylor teams were really solid in special teams. Those Penn State teams were really solid in special teams. Not that he was the coordinator, but he was definitely a part of it. So, yeah, you were 126 last year in yards per punt, like which was, I mean, that hurts. If you think about it, if you already don't have a great defense and you're not giving your defense a lot of room to work with, so hopefully Grant Chadwick from Middle Tennessee is a bonus. I don't know how much better he'll be, but let's see. I mean, he was only a freshman last year, so maybe just one extra year in a college weight room will do him wonders. So, yeah, we don't always talk about like going depth special teams, but I thought it's significant with LSU because you got a great kicker, great returners, and your punt game sucked last year, and you're hoping to get it improved.
Where else are you going to get that kind of coverage, man? That was awesome. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, come on. So now we're looking at the schedule. Okay, over under win total is about 8.5. Um, I'm not betting this, but I'll lean over for sure. I think they can get to 9. The question is like LSU. I think it depends who you lose to, but I think you can 100% get in the college football playoffs with 10 wins if you're LSU. But in terms of like the makeup of the schedule, like you kind of got a tough draw in the SEC, if you ask me. Now you didn't draw Georgia and you didn't draw Texas, okay, but you have to go on the road to play A&M. You have to go on the road to play Ole Miss. You have to go on the road to play Oklahoma. Right? You didn't draw Kentucky. You didn't draw Mississippi State. You play Florida week 3. 2 weeks after you play Clemson right off the bat. Um, South Carolina will be a physical team. This is not a very easy schedule to me at all. So I'm mapping this out, trying to get to 9 wins. Like the losses that I can see are like, okay, Clemson, all right, and then I think you could lose A&M on the road. I think you could lose to Bama at home, and those would kind of be like the 3 losses, or maybe swap A&M for Florida. You know, I I think that they can get to 9 wins for sure. I think LSU fans are expecting double digits. I think they're expecting college football playoffs, which I think is totally fair for Brian Kelly in year 4. And for as talented as this team is, yeah, it is a little bit unfortunate. You're not to the degree that Florida has a tough schedule, but you have a pretty darn tough schedule, in my opinion. And it starts with the out of conference game, which, by the way, do we know? Do we have the number? The last time they won a season opener? I don't even
2019,
2019.
Joe Burrow.
So don't make it 6 years, Brian Kelly. Don't do it.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time. I'm kind of been going back and forth on this. I think this team is better than what that 8.5 win total shows. So like as soon as I see that, I want to take the over. The schedule's tough. The one caveat I will say, like in terms of how it's laid out, schedule dynamic wise, when your bye weeks are, when your tough games are, you do not have to play any of your tough games back to back. Not a single one of them in terms of like teams you like are going to be circled on the schedule. Clemson, Florida, Ole Miss, South Carolina, A&M, Alabama, they're Oklahoma in there. Like none of those games, because of the ways the buys are situated, are back to back, which I think is tremendous, especially if you don't necessarily have depth at the O line, if you don't necessarily have depth that you love at the D line or at linebacker. So whatever that may be, but dang it, man. I'll lean over. I'll be with you there. Part of me thinks that if you lose week 1, man, going 10 or it'd be 9-2 the rest of the way would be really, really hard. You think 9-3 makes the playoffs?
Wait, actually, I think the schedule I'm looking at's wrong. They host A&M this year.
Yep.
They definitely host A&M. The schedule I'm looking at's wrong. Oh, that actually like makes me feel a lot better because I was looking at like, oh, A&M, like, yeah, it's tough. You haven't had a lot of success, and then I was like, wait, you didn't win there last year. Okay, so obviously, yeah, you're gonna host them this year. Yeah, the schedule's really wrong right here. So, wow, I just looked like a bozo there for a couple minutes, but okay, that makes the schedule a little bit easier because like that becomes that's a game I'm pretty confident that LSU will win if they're gonna get that one at home.
If you lose to Clemson, and let's say you lose to a 9-3 Florida team that's going to the playoffs, and you lose to a 10-2, 11-1 Alabama team.
No, you're not in.
So quality wins over Ole Miss, South Carolina, A&M, Arkansas, Oklahoma.
Okay, well, I think like we're assuming that. Okay, so here's the thing: Arkansas is probably a top 30 team, top 35 team in the country. I'll say 35, but the committee doesn't know that. No way.
Committee don't know shit.
They don't know that. They literally have no clue. Oklahoma could win 7 games and probably be a top 20 team in the country in terms of like power rating. Committee wouldn't care. They would have no clue.
So do you think if you were on the committee, I guess that's hard.
So
Who
the
knows?
problem is like you're playing Oklahoma in the last week of the season, and I don't know what Oklahoma's record's going to be by then. Just because their schedule is brutal. Their schedule is brutal.
Yeah,
we'll get that when we talk about the Oklahoma video, but
I don't think it eliminates them from the conversation. I just do think this is one of those schedules, along with Florida and Oklahoma, right? Like where you do have like that third loss margin for error. I mean, how close was Bama with 3 losses, two terrible losses last year?
Yeah,
getting
but
in.
they also had like the best win in the country.
Yeah. Yes. So
LSU would not have the best win in the country in that scenario. Now, what if they lost to Clemson, lost to Florida, lost to South Carolina, but beat Bama?
Beat number 1 Bama on the road.
Wait, is that on the road?
Yeah, it's in Bama.
Okay, literally all these are flipped. On this stupid schedule I'm looking at right here, they have them flipped like an idiot. They didn't change it from last year, or probably, but whatever. So yeah, with the tough schedule, would they get in the playoffs at 9-3? I think it depends. You know, if you beat Bama on the road and they're the number 1 team in the country, I mean, there's a chance for sure. You mentioned it, Bama being pretty close with where they're at, but yeah, in general, 4th year under Brian Kelly, whether you win 9 games or 10 games, 11 games, like fans want to see college football playoffs.